Greetings, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We link from across the globe, coming together as a group with a focused intent of common good. We work through the cycles with the full moon and the new moon, invoking the vision of the unfolding plan, precipitating and sharing impressions, and then at the time of the new moon, as now, we come to offer the seeds for thought forms that could be magnetized with our group meditation and radiated into the field of human consciousness, inspiring the thinkers of the world and thus assisting the evolution of humanity. In this cycle, as we work with energies of Scorpio, we've been holding the topic, sharing is the circulation of life through the ethers. With an act of will, we color it with joy and love. So let us begin. And we start by sounding our purpose. Over to you, Brigitte.
Thank you, Alexander. Our purpose is to magnetize the ideas of common good, freedom, and brotherhood as the highest values of humanity at this time. We recognize and cherish diversity of perspectives in our group, creating a space capable of invoking, receiving, interpreting, and radiating a higher synthetic vision. We serve as an Asramic outpost, building a group bridge of Buddhic energy. We evoke the soul of humanity. We envision humanity as being the seed that is flowering. We prepare the way for the reappearance of the coming one. And over to you, Tracy.
Thank you, Birgitta. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. As we begin our focus today in this new moon meditation, we now join together in the naming circle, which unites our hearts across distance, as we begin our alignment and bring ourselves fully into our group work. By uniting our hearts in this way, we begin naturally to work telepathically through our group mind. The key to this telepathic work is in the etheric alignment, which creates the group field and allows it to become both a receiving and transmitting agent for higher ideas and energies. We will begin by calling our names into the circle, starting with our organizers. And as your name is called, please unmute yourself, say your name, and where you are calling in from. For example, Tracy Arbor calling in today from Novi, Michigan, USA. And as we go through this, let us turn our attention to our hearts and the heart center of the group gathered today as each one of us calls ourselves into this circle. Alexander.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. Katya Kaufman here.
And Alexander Ilchuk. We are connecting today from Kauai Island in Hawaii.
Welcome. Birgitta.
Greetings. I'm Birgitte calling in from Denmark.
Welcome. Annetta.
Hello, everyone. I'm Annette, and I'm also calling in from Denmark.
Welcome. Jillian.
Hello, everyone. Gillian Douglas calling in from Heacham in Norfolk, UK.
Welcome. Joanne.
Hello, everyone. This is Joanne Walls, Joe Walls to some, calling in from the border of Oregon and California on the west coast of the United States.
Welcome. Judy.
Hello, this is Judy Harrison. I'm calling in from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, USA.
Welcome. Kathy.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Kathy Heller, and I'm calling in from Pahoa, Hawaii Island, Hawaii.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone. Now that we are linked together as a group, let us share a few moments in silence to align, forming a triangle between Shambhala, the hierarchy, and humanity. May our efforts be of the highest vibration in selfless service for our purpose.
Thank you, friends. Throughout this cycle, we were holding in our group focus the questions that you can see on the screen. I will read them for us now. How do we develop harmony of shared life while recognizing and appreciating our differences? How can Scorpio teach us to go from suffering to joy? What can help us to come through Scorpio purificatory tests? And how do we know that we passed it. As we prepare to start sharing in the circle, I invite us to check the community boards where some impressions been shared throughout the cycle. Looking through, reminding ourselves what been in our circle this time. So let us take a couple minutes to check the community board. So let us now open our sharing, holding the tension of group focus, receiving impressions and recognitions in meditative listening. So when you're ready, please unmute yourself to make your offering.
As I consider this topic, I very simply just get the impression that the key to the answers to all these questions is listening, listening deeply and opening our hearts, listening through our hearts. And then how we would know if we pass the tests, I think, is if we have peace, if we feel peace then in our hearts that we've done all we can do.
This is Catherine, and following with Marty, that deep listening, absolutely. And what fuels that deep listening for me is curiosity, and a passionate curiosity for really understanding the essence of of a being, the how everything works, how the universe works, how it just that an endless curiosity, which also fuels awe and wonder, or is fueled by awe and wonder, but all of that is together. And so that in the answer to the first question, is that with that curiosity and that wish to discover the truth, the essence of something, that while sharing life, does recognize and appreciate the differences. I mean, the differences are the gold of that curiosity, and rather than wanting everything to be homogenized and redundant. And going into the depths of painful aspects or dark aspects, sad aspects, wounded aspects that are part of suffering. When I allow myself to rest in that and really understand it, it's very often that the suffering is a recognition of how something has been pulled from being the expression of life and love. I believe that everything in the universe started from that, and that the suffering is often that which has been distorted from that, and or is no longer in alignment or in frequency with that. So, and sometimes I'll get fascinated by, how did that get so messed up? How did it, and I can really kind of go in deep. And that's not the right question for me anyway. The right question is, where is the immortal essence? Because I believe everything has an immortal essence. And then when I discover that, when I sense it again, then I'm experiencing, the joy of that, of the affirmation of that reality that I sense and hold so dearly. And then I think Marty, it's just so clear, that when we've come through the tests, when I've learned what I can, or discovered what I can with my curiosity, I feel peacefulness and expansiveness. There's an expansiveness and a light that just comes into being, or is revealed. I don't know which, and it was always in being. But anyway, a light, just brilliant light and expansiveness and peace. Thank you.
In alignment with what you're saying, Kathy, in general, to kind of generalize, I think Scorpio is about experiences we go through in areas of our life where we're still attached to our personality more than maybe we'd like to be. And it's that attachment to personality that causes suffering. When we can go through that and release it, we're bringing through soul energy, which is joy. They say joy is very much soul energy. And I think that leads us to the third question, too. What can help us to come through the test, and how do we know we've passed it? I think a sign of passing it is the periods of time we spend not suffering, time we spend where we're not attached to personality issues, and we're just living in that joyful soul energy.
Wow, so many insightful impressions. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I can't help but think with our topic being through the ethers, you know, how we're all connected. And it just reminds me of the 100th monkey syndrome. I don't know if you've all heard of that. After you reach, like, I think it's a critical number that the whole group changes kind of thing. And just from listening to our group and knowing that we work in the ethers also, and there's so many other light workers now doing the same, I think it's going to be, I kind of got this impression that we're watching the death of the personality in humanity and the rebirth maybe of soul consciousness. At least it's going to start awakening. So, God bless everybody that's been working there on the ethers with the positive and uplifting humanity. So thank you, everyone. You guys are amazing. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Thanks very much. While I was sitting quietly this morning, wondering if there was anything special that I should share or whatever, I got the picture of a light box. My husband used to use when he makes stained glass pieces. And you probably all know, but just to make sure, it's a big box with lighting from within, and it shines up, and there's a glass cover, and it shines up through the glass from underneath. And I'm still working on that picture, but I think that there are some real obvious references. As we work to create and work to develop the harmony that we're talking about, that we need to remember to always look for the light within, and to see things through that inner light, whether it's our own ideas or other people's ideas. Thank you.
I like that picture, Lynn, because when we are working with stuff from in the depth, we are like the grass of splinters all over the place. And when we can see through it, through the eyes of the soul and the light of the soul, we can collect the pieces to a picture that gives us a meaning and understanding why the pattern is as it is, and how we can expand it and lift it up in the light. Thank you for that picture. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Seems like we had some problems with connection.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Yes, so it's an interesting example of, to me, what means that the test is taken. It's just when the connection is dropped, the system keeps trying to reconnect. When we make a mistake, we clearly understand that this was a mistake. There is no doubt. There is no like thinking that, okay, but maybe it's not really as bad, you know? It's just you understand that something is not working and you made a mistake. The same way you make a mistake and you took a wrong turn, you know? And you can either go through a different passage or you can turn back and start anew. So this deep inner knowledge that something is not right. And sometimes you can, you know, I don't know, I think we come back to those tests again and again and again. And as soon as we've, you know, at least I think that things are done, you know, and, you know, it's off the to-do list, checked off, the situation presents itself and, you know, it becomes obvious that the attitude of the disciple is, you know, needs to be tuned back in the same way we tune the musical instruments, you know, just back to what they're supposed to sound. If you play the guitar, you'll need to tune it constantly. A little bit. But yeah. So we were in Japan traveling and you know, I always consider myself an easy person when it comes to the space and to the food and stuff. And we come and I realized that I'm allergic to MSG and the food there is most of the food contains it. They use it all the time. And they tend to sit on the floor and the ground low sitting, and I have an injured knee, so I can't. And there was a moment when my personality was kind of really preoccupied with the, like, what I'm gonna do. And I realized that just this is becoming a problem for the group, you know? And then I realized it's not the food or the seating is the problem, it's my attitude towards it. So I had to basically rework my relation to those, you know, limitations. I had to say, okay, well, I eat what I eat. You know, don't worry, guys. I will sit with you. I'll grab a little bit of something I can eat. I'll make myself comfortable with whatever it is. But it didn't come from me trying to squeeze myself, you know, into compliance with the goal of the group or with the like agenda. It came from finding the right balance into what originally this topic of harmonization come from. How do I harmoniously align with the situation, but yet still not make myself just suffer more, or not to do it and don't do it at the expense of my bodies, you know? And I believe I did find it. But exactly because I have a like thought form that this thing it's easy. I'm an easy person. That was a moment of realization that tides turn and things come up differently. But I'm very grateful for the concept of curiosity, because if we align with curiosity rather than judgment, then that curiosity allows to see things differently and find that different balance. And to me, that is the Scorpio. Getting rid of things that don't serve anymore. Cleansing. Yeah. Thank you. Over.
As I listen to you, Katya, I think of the Master DK writing about the idea of irritation, and that it is irritation to the disciple, really, that is the challenge. And in other words, our own attitude toward the things we may encounter, which may not be of our liking or the way we think things should be. But it's not the outer situation. It's really how we deal with it interiorly that makes the difference. And so as I look at this last one with the idea of purificatory tests, I was just thinking if you can go through the world without irritation, then you've probably passed a lot of the tests. Because thinking about it is that attitude within ourselves of how we deal with things. So that just struck me, that word, as you were speaking. So for myself, because I hadn't been here on a number of these, I looked at these questions and did the posting for myself, answering each of them and thinking about the harmony of a shared life. I really have appreciated the idea of harmony as we become more and more conscious. In some ways, harmony becomes easier because there's a certain flow. I guess I'll uh, use that word. And it's not a sameness at all. In fact, I think if anything, we recognize the variety of rays, the variety of astrology, of cultural differences, that every life is so unique. Uh, and in some ways, that's the joy when you can look at the uniqueness and see the wholeness. Then there is harmony. When you look at the uniqueness and stand there and want to hold on to that as something unto itself, that's when friction starts. So I think we develop all of these things by being more thoughtful, looking within, not seeing the problems as out there so much as within ourselves. And in that way, I think Scorpio does teach us to go from suffering to joy. And I had a discussion with someone that joy is very different from happiness. And when I looked at these two, it's not going from suffering to happiness, but from suffering to joy. Because joy is a soul quality, where happiness is a personality quality that is dependent on the environment. And so if we can move from those irritations that cause us to suffer to an understanding of the larger purpose, the larger challenge, the push to be more of a trained observer within ourselves, then I think we can come out of the other side in joy.
All this beautiful sharing really prompts some new ideas in my mind in relation to the questions and common good. And in my experience, early in my life, I had many, many, many close people who had the same birthday in the first decade of Scorpio. And so my first exposure really to what they would call the Scorpionic experience pushed me to look at where Scorpio was in my own chart, and the planets there, etc., and the house. And then now that I'm much older, recently there were a range of people with the same birthday on November 19th, at the close of Scorpio. And I've been thinking about that now also in relation to my own, where I am and the groups that I'm with. So these people were like a 13-year-old, twins in their 50s, and then a person who was turning 65. And the knowledge of their tests and trials was something that took me to a much higher level and a sensitivity, I think, in even listening to each one of you speak of in response to the questions. And I've been listening very carefully this month to the daily vigil with how each focalizer expresses, and listening into, and I use for myself those 5 words for applicants in Rule 14: listen, touch, see, apply, and know, that then we can dare to know as disciples and initiates, and then express as disciples and initiates. So I use that as kind of a little formula for myself as I ponder on the questions. And this pondering, this movement from suffering to joy has been a kind of focal point in looking and visioning for each of these individuals, the 13-year-old, the 50-somethings, and the 65, what the joy is that is coming through out of what they are or maybe experiencing as that test, a kind of suffering, and the purificatory nature of it. And as one, we're moving to Sagittarius with right relationships as the focus, to be able to stand with those who are suffering and know that we are in group, we are part of humanity, the Scorpionic experience, these tests and trials, and to vision that joy as the result. And what's coming to me, especially having listened to you all, is, are we coming to a real new understanding of what harmony through conflict is, with the 4th ray coming in? Are we beginning to truly understand on a higher level harmony for humanity? And that, with the words of power, to merge with one. And then what comes to mind is, which triangle are the individuals working with? The 13-year-old working with the astral body and the physical body and the mental body. That triangle of a personality is developing. The 50-somethings are approaching the 2nd Saturn return, and they're bringing personality and soul, and maybe getting a flicker of that monadic will. And then the 65-year-old has completed the 2nd Saturn return. So it all kinds of floods in, and I'm beginning to say, so how do we then really operate in our spiritual groups to bring this all together on behalf of humanity? And I know it's happening, and it's beautiful when people express it in their group work. That's my learning from listening to the vigil group this cycle. So enough of my spewing. Thank you for listening.
If I can add to this suffering to joy, it's just this moment when for a while, I believe in our life, things that are not developed in previous lives, we understand only when things get bad. That's the way humanity gets it. The planet of purifying, I think, pain. So it becomes painful and we get it. And then we do something. When we talk about the path of discipleship, the tide turns and it becomes that the more we see potential joy and aspire towards that, the better we understand. We don't need the stick to hit us in the head so we act, but we see the potential harmony and strive towards that, from one harmony to another, which is many, many levels and ways of harmonic lines. And etheric part, etheric body plays, I believe, a vital role in that, because the level of vitality, at some point, I clearly understood that the amount of life is a measure for me. What is happening after the situation? Is the life becoming? Does the life energy comes in, or does it drain life energy? Not even the light, even just exactly life living substance is it growing. So yeah. And on a technical note, our connection sometimes might lapse. It's good, but once in a while it drops the signal, and then it recovers it, in a minute. So if you lose me during the meditation, just know that we're working hard to reestablish the
I guess that's what is causing the friction in the personality too. The connection is not quite yet to the soul, and the soul, the higher it gets, it casts shadows and friction in the personality, and we see them as suffering and pain. But as DK says, the shadows is something to be happy about, because it shows our progress. It shows that we are on the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. It's beautiful analogy about broadening the bandwidth of the soul connection to have a stable connectivity. We all need that.
I was thinking that too. Sorry I came in late. I seem to have had the wrong time. I had 2:30, but so I've only heard a little bit of what you've spoken of, but it's the soul, touching the soul that will bring joy. And Katia said we understand only when things get bad. I mean, ain't that the truth? But when you've come through that, there's a joy at the other end. And that's through the suffering, the heart is softened and opens. And as the heart opens, there's joy there. And it's whether it's closeness to God, your soul, your inner essence, something you've always been looking for in some way or another, or just joy that you appreciate the beauty of the world, even with the things that go on and the difficulties. Anyway, it was, yes, from suffering, you certainly get to joy. And there we are. Thank you.
And it's through suffering, like what Kiki just said, that your heart breaks open. And it is at that point that what I feel is one of the most important soul qualities, and that is compassion. And that you really, truly can identify with the wholeness of every person, every part of humanity, because we all suffer to some degree in incarnation. And it is that extraordinary opportunity to see the light within the darkness. And it's always amazing to me to think of the places where I've suffered in my life and to recognize in the process of it all, there becomes a joy and a gratefulness. And it's hard to explain that, but there's so much that occurs because of suffering that is growthful and that changes someone in ways that have extraordinary opportunity for growth, where you look back on that moment of suffering or that period of suffering, and you can only be grateful because who you are right now it is someone that you would never have been without that suffering. And therein blossoms the joy. And it's interesting in my own experience and with my children who had a degree of suffering alongside me, to find at this point in time that I become a really important teacher to them, because they now are the age where I and we experienced a great loss in our family. And to be able to share with them at a different developmental level and to clarify the experience that we all had, and that there's just this greater understanding, and with that comes compassion, and with that comes this extraordinary love and understanding, and this opportunity for them to carry that compassion beyond beyond themselves. And I only smile now in joy, which is this lightness of being that is, as Judy said, not happiness. That's a lovely place to be. But joy is so expansive and so much more. And I think it is shed abroad in ways that are really extraordinary. So that's all.
Well put, Andrea. Beautifully put. I think too it's a time to recognize too that a way that we can be of service as you were with your children, if we've experienced that sort of heartbreak that's broken our heart open to the higher consciousness, we can be there for other people, whether it's in our personal lives or whether it's just by meditating and projecting out a sort of universal love. If we can be there to help people to get through that so that they don't lose hope, that there's not a period where there's that darkness and hope that's lost. Anyway, I think you know what I mean. Thanks.
I'm thinking about Hercules, his labor in Scorpio, when he was tasked to find and fight the nine-headed Hydra. And you probably remember that's actually finding Hydra. It was a challenge on its own. So when he first came to swamps where he been indicated that Hydra lives, he was looking around and he couldn't find her. And he knew she's there only by the smell, this devastating, poisonous smell. And finally he found it. And so that was part of the labor. And so it's the same for each of us and for humanity in general, is to actually find the Hydra. We know that it is there. We can feel the smell, but recognize it and face it, it's part of the journey. And naming the Hydra, naming those nine heads, recognizing those tests where we trialed on each level, like in Maya, Glamour, and Illusion, it's halfway to winning of the Hydra, and it's still might come many lives till we will be able to lift it into that Hydra, into this soul light, but to face it and recognize it and name it as it is, what it is, it's important. And I think that's in a way what we do from meeting to meeting when we share and we talk about the problems that humanity faces, naming them, anchoring into the words and radiating that, holding it in the mental field. We make it our part in making it more recognizable for humanity. So it's important for each of us as well to be very clear what is the Hydra in front of us.
I think you're absolutely right, Alexander, and it's a matter of naming them and owning them, which is part of compassion, I believe, too, is not just projecting them onto others, but owning them as part of human experience, even within ourselves.
You could say that we are fighting the Hydra right now in Brazil. They are trying to get a last paper of resolution, but the oil producing countries are not willing to give in, and it is difficult to get a resolution that everybody is agreeing on. And the same goes on about the wars in the world. US has given Ukraine a hopeless peace contract where they can get peace by some demands that is not very good. And it is a difficult task for them to decide. Neither Ukraine or Europe has been involved, and it is difficult to lift the Hydra and get light and justice. And the same goes in Palestine and Israel and other wars. So we are really fighting the Hydra in the world. Thank you.
Yeah. That's like, do you remember when the Hercules, he would cut out the head of the Hydra and two would grow in the place where one was. So and it's just kneeling and getting strength from the earth and lifting it up in light. It's just this moment when we disconnect those forces from what gives them strength by kneeling. It's interesting because the same thing, kneeling, is how we climb the mountain of initiation on our knees. I think it's very symbolic, really, because we need to level with the problem and sense it and recognize it for what it is, and then bring in another energy, another vitality, another plane to resolve the problem that is not possible to resolve on the plane it was created. Yet Tibetan says that although initiation is being taken in Sagittarius, really, it is essentially, technically, it's been taken in Scorpio. So third degree initiate, as someone wrote, becomes this bridge between the higher and the lower. So yes, humanity is a disciple, and it is going through all those tests, and we have ways ahead of us. But as a working group looking at the humanity's problems, we can pinpoint it in our lives, in our group life, and offer the resolution, offer the path, even the smallest one, that makes a difference. Even the smallest ability to see the different opportunity and release something that is not useful anymore to someone who might actually very well use it. But whatever doesn't work for us, needs to be released. Otherwise, we become complacent in a way, thinking that things are done, and it's like, and it's a hard lesson to learn. When you think that things are done, and in reality, the check shows that they're not. So, and the worst, that's how we change. So it's either we change because of the spiritual development, or we fight the war when we can't. The contradictions need to be resolved, and it's either through, it's mostly through conflict, to the new level of harmony, and once in a while, it's the joint effort of humanity to resolve the contradiction when it's threatened. Like we had this situation with this ozone hole, which was threatening the whole planet, and we came together. But it's rare, but exists.
Kneeling helps to open to humility. And it's humility, I think, one needs to open the suffering, which opens to joy, which opens to bliss. Kneeling, maybe it's just my early Catholic upbringing, a lot of kneeling, but it is a very useful thing to understand. Thanks.
I think one thing that we have to watch for, that's related to what we're talking about, is how many assumptions we have without even thinking about them. Like you were talking about, Katya, the assumption you made about yourself, the assumptions you made before you went to Japan, and then finding out other ways. But we all have so many assumptions we even grow up with. And, we have these myths and so forth. that are cultural and family and individual myths that we create. And Scorpio is a fixed sign. And I think it has a lot to do with the second initiation because it's emotionally fixed. And it's a real challenge to let go of things like we're all saying. It's really a challenge sometimes to be able to see through the glamour and the illusions and really see what underlies all of it. I've been watching recently on TV. Our public television has had a show about the American Revolution. It's been on 4 nights now, and it's a great documentarian who's created this. He does a wonderful job, and but all the detail, it's overwhelming of all the suffering that so many people did for so many years in this revolutionary time, of trying to create something new for themselves, and so much of it is just the day-to-day life, what you're trying to do from day to day. We think about all of these great ideals, and they're so important, but so much of it is just living day to day and trying to survive even sometimes. So it's been quite revealing to me, and does kind of shatter some myths that we are ingrained within our society. I mean, there's still so much wonder about what, for us and for maybe many people, about what happened here at that time and things like this that have happened, I'm sure, in other places. But I mean, there's such a mixture of high thought and low thought. And it's just makes me really think about a lot of things. And you can just, the way he's done this, you can really feel the suffering that the people were going through at the time, on so many different levels. Okay, thank you.
Keep coming
DK
back.
wrote some. Sorry.
Sorry, Annette, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that DK wrote somewhere that there are 4 or 5 points that we all have been through in all our incarnations, and we have all been in war. So we have all tried it in at least one life. So we all know this suffering deep down in us. Thank
I know you all know all this already, but Buddha says that suffering comes from attachments, which we all know that. But what came to me was while Lynn was talking about the program she was watching, suffering is the illusion of the loss of something, and joy is finding what was lost, finding something that was there, but you didn't know it was there. Yeah, so much suffering in humanity, and I think we're now sealing the door, quote unquote, where evil dwells, kind of. We're and to me, what sealing the door where evil dwells means is we're now realizing and awakening to who we truly are, and the power that that holds within that, that we are a soul, that we're not just the personality. I think I don't know. Thank you. I just wanted to say that.
Just what you were saying, Tracy, was reminded me that the line esoteric astrology in Taurus, it concerns, I think, Scorpio. He says that Buddha came to teach the nature of desire and the fact that unenlightened desire causes suffering. And Christ came to bring this, to make us able to change, transmute that desire into aspiration, the enlightened desire into aspiration. So there are two steps. First, to enlighten the desire, and then, he, I believe, says that it's the goal of how this secondary universe. It's just to transmute desire into aspiration. So to direct that purpose, to direct that energy, to direct that flow. Yeah. So thank you.
Along with what Annette and Tracy was saying, I thought about the second law of healing, about this ancient law of shared evil that would have to be replaced someday through the use of the spiritual will of group by ancient law of dominating good. And so, yes, it's a beautiful planet that we all share, and we came here with the purpose of evolution and enlightening of the matter. And yes, in the process, many bad things we did, all of us, and it's this accumulated baggage that we must transmute before moving forward. But we have this shared goal of the path, and at the end of the day, the path is what matters. And this, how our topic says, the circulation of life, sharing the circulation of life through the ethers, recognizing that it's whatever happens anywhere on the planet with whoever of us, it's part of the shared experience that we ongoingly share. I'm looking at time and see that it's time to move for meditation. But before that, if anyone wants to add any last comments, please do it now.
Well, I just put something in the shared document from DK about suffering, but I would like to add this. He says, I would therefore ask you to steel your souls to endurance. Knowing that the hierarchy stands, I would ask you to love blindly and unchangingly in spite of all that may happen, knowing that love stands unmoved amid the wreckage of all around and eternally loves. I would ask you to put your hand into that of the Master and move forward with him and in the strength of your group, irradiated by the life and light of the hierarchy. I would ask you to be a strong hand in the dark to your fellow men because you are affiliated with the hierarchy, and the love and strength of the hierarchy can flow through you if you so permit.
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's made their comments tonight and apologise that I haven't, but I'm not too good at the moment and I can't guarantee that I'll make a lot of sense if I say much. So I'll just thank you, and I've appreciated listening to you all.
Well, thank you, Jill. And you're here, and we hear your heart and your mind, and whatever it is you bring in. And thank you for that.
Thanks, Katya.
So, from what Joe just read, let us permit the group to be a conduit for the hierarchy. And let us meditate. So let us reunite in the group centers. Align with the topic that we hold in the energy of Scorpio. Sharing is the circulation of life through the ethers. With an act of will, we color it with joy and love. Let us move into silence and become aware of the stillness within. Align with your heart center, ajna, the soul. And from the soul, let's link with the group heart, group mind, and group soul. Let the heightened vibration of love that we hold as a group draw the presence of the high vibration. High vibrational beings who are here to guide and assist the energy and thought forms will be magnetizing. Let us now connect with the hierarchy through our group antakarana as we link the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning, and the subtle world of glamour. Let's visualize our chalice. Which our work together feeds and fuels. It's golden chalice made of numerous threads of golden light, which we energize through our group contemplation, impressions, thoughts, and unity. We're working now with the energies of Scorpio. The sign of the disciples, carrying the energies of fourth ray and sixth ray and first ray through the great being that we call Pluto, allowing our work with the depth and supporting humanity on its path of discipleship, going through the tests that lead to initiation. And that sign, the soul becomes triumphant. Hence the key note. Warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. The signs where the angel of presence meets the dweller on the threshold. And transmutes the sign that helps the disciple to become a point of light and hold that place of being a point, releasing what is no longer needed and doesn't serve the purpose of discipleship. The main energy supporting us on the path that energy that we can always ask to help us when we feel that the challenge is too great. So let us reconnect with our topic. Sharing is the circulation of life through the ethers, with an act of will, we color it with joy and love. And let's take a few moments to reflect on the sharings. Ask hierarchy to guide and inspire us as we allow our thoughts to crystallize, grasping the essence of the purpose of our work throughout this cycle. And with love, we offer our efforts into the chalice. Each one unmuting and speaking as we move to. We also honor those who choose not to speak, but who silently offer their formulated seeds into the chalice. And we will allow each seed to rest in silence for a while before the next one is offered. So let us begin now.
I offer the seed of nourishing curiosity as a path to joy.
Hope.
Compassion and understanding leading to right human relations.
Let us joyfully share the knowing that lifting the darkness into the light spreads the fire of spiritual love.
Through love and joy, all disciples and light workers unite and assist humanity on the etheric plane into its reorientation to soul, thus lifting humanity into the light.
I'd like to offer two. First of all, war reveals the glamour, illusions, myths on all sides of a conflict. Also, I would like to say we should see issues as if looking at them positioned on a light box.
As we work through conflict, let us know the freedom of a new harmony.
with energies of will and love, we move to enlighten our desires and transmute enlightened desire into aspiration. We draw harmony and use it to tread the path of higher evolution. If we all seeded our seeds, I will continue. We focus on the purpose of our work today and the seeds collected, allowing them to vibrate and resonate within the embracing light of the group. We magnetize it now with the light of Scorpio, and we invoke the will to good to potentiate our group intention. We lift our group chalice, offering it to the hierarchy as our group service on behalf of one divine plan. Now we turn toward humanity and offer our service in support of the collective evolution of humankind. Let us close our work as we identify with the soul in all and apply our efforts to be in accordance with the divine will. We now send forth the results of our efforts, thoughts, love, and the energy of our group work to help our earth in all its diversity and ultimate unity through its transformational journey into the sacred. We do this through a focused direction of energy from our group ajna, sending the light out to higher beings, to other spiritual groups, to the soul of humanity, and to all sentient beings as we assist the forces of light. And in conclusion, we seal and complete our work today through the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, Let light stream forth into the lives of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, purpose which the masters know and serve. From the centers which we call the race of man, let the plan of love and light work out, and may seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. Oh.